You feel like you don't really move enough, and at the end of the day, your shoulders, upper back, sometimes even the base of the neck feel really stiff. If so, this little sequence might help you out. It's the kind of stuff that I like to do maybe in the morning or before I do a practice or a workout, so that my shoulders are mobilized, the blood is circulating, and I just feel a little more aware of the muscles that I'm going to need to engage with whatever activities I'm doing. If you're a sedentary person and you're spending a lot of time on your phone, on a computer, doing anything where you're not really moving, this could also be really helpful for you. I'm doing it seated just because it's easier for the video, but you could do these exercises standing on your couch, half seated, half standing. You know, it's really up to you, and it doesn't really matter which seated position you're taking. The first thing we're going to do is the shoulder shrugs, and I do this in so many classes just because it really helps us to connect to the scapula, the shoulder blades. So what you'll do is sitting up tall or standing up tall, think of bringing your shoulder blades up towards your ears and try to squeeze them up as high as you can. With your exhale, you're going to pull your shoulder blades back, squeeze them towards your spine, and pull them down as if you want to bring your shoulder blades down towards your hips. I'll do it from the side. So again, you're going to lift your shoulder blades up. Try your best not to hunch your back. Then as you pull your shoulder blades back, avoid arching your back, right? So you're just pulling the shoulder blades back, squeezing them towards your spine and pulling them down. One more time, bring your shoulder blades forward, feel them spread out. Lift them up as high as you can towards your ears. Then pull the shoulder blades back together towards the lower ribs. Then from the back, we're pulling the shoulder blades towards the spine without overarching, lifting them up towards the ears. As we pull the shoulder blades forward, they will spread out and your upper back will look a little bit rounded, but you want to avoid exaggerating rounding your back. So just pulling the shoulder blades forward and then pulling them down. Squeeze the shoulder blades back. Keep the head on top of your neck rather than let your head fall forward. Lift them up. Spread them out, pull them forward, and then bring them down. One more time. Pull the shoulder blades back. Lift them up. Spread them apart, bring them forward, and bring them down. After that, you can take a few seconds to just kind of roll the shoulders one at a time. And the second exercise that I really love to warm up with, I call it hummingbird wings. You're going to place your fingertips on your shoulder heads or wherever you can put your fingers. Like let's say you don't have the mobility to put your fingers all the way to the shoulders, you could put your fingers on the side of your face instead and it'll still be effective. So wherever your hands are, you're going to draw circles with your elbows. And while you're drawing these circles, you want to feel like the shoulder blades are moving. So rather than keeping them stuck onto the back, let them spread out, lift, pulling them together when you bring the elbows back. And again, we're attempting to do this move without overarching or rounding the spine. We're kind of keeping the spine neutral. You could do that a few more times. It doesn't matter how big or small your circles are. Make sure you're moving in a range of motion that really feels comfortable. If you're feeling pain, make the circle smaller. And then you'll go the opposite direction. Hopefully you remember which way you were going. Breathe through your nose while you're doing it. And then when you're satisfied, one hand to the ground, stretch an arm over your head for a little bit of a side bend. So you should feel a stretch under your armpit, maybe on the side of the ribs. You can always bend the elbow of the hand that's on the ground for a deeper stretch. Start to bring the arm down across your body and then over to the other side, and you can reach the other arm. Same option, you could bend the elbow of the hand that's on the ground if you find that that's a more comfortable stretch. Breathe through the nose and imagine breathing into the side that you're stretching. Bring the arm across your body and then over to the other side. All right. Another exercise we're going to do is stick the arms out to the sides, and we're going to be drawing circles. In this exercise, I want you to practice keeping the shoulder blades where they are so that you're literally only moving your arm. I'm going to do it sideways since I don't have enough length here for both arms. Okay, so sitting or standing, bring the arms out to the side. You can have your fingers pointed forward, or you can lift the fingers as if you were pushing your hands into the walls. Keeping the spine neutral. Again, try to avoid letting your head drop forward. We're pulling the back of the skull on top of the upper back. And you're going to draw circles. I like to start small because it makes it easier for me to keep my scapula in place. You can go a little bit bigger as you start to get used to the exercise. You can go for about 3 or 4 more. Okay, then you're going to go the opposite direction. About 3, 2, 1, great. Make a fist and bring your arms in front of you so that your palms are facing each other. So now, instead of trying to keep the shoulder blades pulled back, you're going to imagine punching the wall in front of you. If you have a wall, I don't have a wall here, punch the tree. So think of bringing the shoulder blades out to the side so they separate. And reach your arms as far forward as you can without having to hunch your back too much, right? It will round a little bit as the shoulder blades pull forward, but you're not exaggerating. Then, keeping the spine neutral, think of pulling the shoulder blades back. Punch whatever's in front of you, let the shoulder blades spread out. And then slowly pull the shoulder blades back. One more time. Shoulder blades protract. Abdomen is pulled in. This could be considered a core exercise. And then draw the shoulder blades back. Stretch your arms out. Stretch your fingers. And now we're going to go into corkscrews. If your arms are tired, just let them drop for a second. So corkscrews is basically an exercise where you're rotating your upper arm bones. Okay? And while you're doing this movement, you might be tempted to allow your shoulders to kind of roll forward and then roll back. Let's see if we can avoid that and really isolate the upper arm bone. Okay, so take your position, your arms are out wide. I'm doing both arms, by the way. You're going to start turning one palm up, one palm down, and then rotating from your upper arm bone, switching. So the opposite hand is going to turn back, the other one's going to lift up. We're going to do that a few more times. You might also feel some tissue stretching around your elbows, your biceps, maybe even your forearms. Good. And now turn both of your palms forward, palms up towards the sky or ceiling, my bad. Then both of your palms back, and from here, bend your elbows and bring your hands somewhere on your back. It could be your lower back, it could be mid-back, wherever you're able to set your hands. From there, we'll squeeze the shoulder blades towards the spine, and we'll attempt to take the hands off of the back. So as you do that, your hands might only come off maybe a few millimeters. Notice while you're trying to bring your hands off your back, are you rounding your spine? Or are you bending your wrists? It can make you feel like your hands are coming further away, but it's not really doing anything for your mobility. or for the muscles in your back. So instead, just focus on squeezing the shoulder blades in slightly, keeping the core connected so you're not sticking out your ribs. And then pull the forearms away from your back. Hold it for 3. For 2, should be shaking. This is not an easy stretch. And then on 1, bring the knuckles back to your back. And let's do it 2 more times. Squeeze the upper back, draw the upper abs in, and then peel the knuckles and forearms away from you. Bring them back, and then last time. Squeeze, engage, lift off, and this time you can straighten your elbows, pull your hands up towards the sky or ceiling, and then bring your arms down. All right, so hopefully you're starting to feel warmed up. You can take your right hand to your left shoulder, and your left hand to your right shoulder. Tuck the chin in and come into a bit of a hunchback. As you lift your chest back up, you'll switch the arms. So your left arm was on top, switch so that your right arm is on top. And if you're sitting in one way, make sure to switch. And from here, you're going to again round your spine, tuck your chin in, hold on firmly to the tops of your shoulders, and imagine pulling your elbows towards your upper back. Does that make sense? Pull your elbows towards the back. And then come back. Extend the arms. Last but not least, you're going to make strong arm position, as if you're trying to show off your biceps. And what we're going to be practicing is internally rotating the upper arm bone and then externally rotating. So a gauge that I like to use is the elbow. I want to try to keep my elbow in the same line as my shoulder, and just like our corkscrews, I'm not going to be rolling my shoulder back and forth. Instead, I'm really isolating just the arm bone. And this is a very humbling exercise. You might not have a lot of range of motion, and that's okay. We're building up on it just by doing this exercise. So finding your strong muscle pose, you can make fists, you can have your fingers spread out, your choice. Keep your elbows in the same line as your shoulders. If you have to, do it in front of your camera so you can see you're in front of a mirror. Same thing with the spine, we're trying to keep it neutral. So what I'm going to do is keep my elbows in place. I'm going to internally rotate my upper arm bones as much as I can without cheating. So without trying to roll my shoulder down or anything like that. This is as far as I can go, honestly. And once I get to my max, once you get to your max, squeeze. Squeeze the muscles around your shoulder capsule. Keep the elbow in place and try to work for a little bit more internal rotation. Hold it for 3, for 2, and then on 1, slowly keep your elbow in the same height that it was. Think of externally rotating your arm bones now. So it's as if I'm trying to get my forearms behind my elbow. And as you can see here, I don't have that much active range of motion. That's okay. I'm working on it. Same thing for you. Keep squeezing like you're showing off your biceps. You should be shaking. And then we'll do 1 more of each. Keep your elbows in place. Rotate from the upper arm bone. Internally rotate. And once you get to your max, you're going to squeeze. Squeeze and work for a little bit more internal rotation. It might not feel like anything is happening. Over time, you'll probably progress. All right, and then let's go the opposite way. We're going for external rotation in the upper arm bone. Woo. Hold it once you're at your max. 3, 2, and on 1, stretch out your arms. Bring them down and take a second. And before we close off, this doesn't really have to do with your shoulders, but it's just for the wrists, and it might feel good after all the fists that we've made. You can turn one palm up towards the sky, and then your other fingers on top. Bend at the wrist, and just create a little bit of a wrist and forearm stretch. switch, so you're turning the palm down and you're going to press the opposite hand on the front of the hand. It's as if you're trying to straighten your arm into the other palm. It should feel nice on the top of the forearm. Hold that for a few seconds, breathing through your nose. And then switch arms. So other palm faces up, fingers on top, bend the wrist. Now, if you start to feel pain when you press all the way, why not just go as far as you're able to without creating any pain? Right? It doesn't matter how far you go. If you're feeling the stretch, you're doing a good job. And if we have limits, instead of just stopping, it's nice when we can find ways to work around those limits to keep ourselves moving. Such an important aspect. The body's never going to be perfect. Let's switch. The body's never going to be perfect. We'll always have stuff to work on. But the good news is we can always find modifications and just slightly different ways to do things to suit our needs. After your few breaths, bring your hands down to your lap. Feel free to do another couple shoulder shrugs. Make sure you're still feeling mobile there. And then I want you to think about your shoulder blades for the rest of the day. Move them around when you have the chance. Even if you don't have time to do this little sequence, maybe you just do a chunk here, a chunk there. Do it a couple of times a week and see what feels good. Over time, I really hope it's going to make a difference. If you have any questions about these exercises, feel free to message me.